first scheduled airline in history, 1914. A Florida businessman named P.E. Fansler wrote Benoist regarding the feasibility of an airline between St. Petersburg and Tampa, Florida. Benoist liked the idea, and in his reply stated that the new Benoist Safety First airboat would be the craft to use. On December 12, 1913, just 10 years since the Wrights first flew at Kitty Hawk, Tom Benoist arrived in St. Petersburg and signed the airline contract. On December 31st of 1913, a Benoist Safety First airboat was set up and test-hopped by Tony Janis with a James Foley as passenger. Then on January 1st, 1914, the first trip of a regularly scheduled airline was made. First flight tickets were auctioned off and the proceeds given to the Benoist Company. The ex-mayor of St. Petersburg, A.C. File, became the world's first scheduled airline passenger when he bid $400 for the first flight. Tony called to J.D. Smith's Smitty to crank her up, and they were off to the wonderment of thousands who crowded the water's edge for the event. Tampa is 21 miles across the bay, and on the first flight a brisk wind was faced, with the flight taking 23 minutes. The return flight was made in 20 minutes. The line, which was subsidized by Florida businessmen, made 2 flights daily, 6 days a week. The regular fare was $5 per person and $5 per 100 pounds of freight or express carried. It operated successfully for 4 months and even made a night flight between St. Petersburg and Tampa, carrying a Miss Marion Ames as passenger. A total of 1,205 passengers were carried without injury, and while the line did not make any money, the airline idea of Benoist was proven sound. On December 4, 1953, St. Petersburg, Florida honored the 50th anniversary of powered flight and the organization of the first scheduled airline together. Many notables, early birds, and friends of Benoist attended. At the luncheon in the Sereno Hotel, Colonel Eddie Rickenbacker and Representative Carl Henshaw praised the work of the Benoist Company. Henshaw stated that in his opinion the 1914 airline was the first practical use of the airplane and second only in importance to the first flights of the Wrights. Colonel Rickenbacker presented a flag to the city of St. Petersburg, which was raised over a monument marking the takeoff site. Mrs. L.A. Whitney, wife of the Secretary of Commerce of St. Petersburg, Florida, has the distinction of being the first female passenger on a regularly scheduled airline. The 70th anniversary of the first scheduled airline flight in history. The Florida Aviation Historical Society has spent 4 years building a hand-fashioned replica of the old mahogany-hulled airboat Janis flew from St. Petersburg to Tampa on New Year's Day, 1914. Ed Hoffman, a Tarpon Springs pilot, took off from the Coast Guard ramp adjacent to Albert Wooded Airport. Hoffman had already made brief test flights in the fragile wood and fabric seaplane. On his test flight in November, Hoffman guided the plane across Lake Tarpon, and its 45-foot wingspan lifted it into the air. Hoffman leveled the wings at 15 feet altitude, the height Janis flew on his trips across the bay, then began a series of turns and dips, testing the controls. "That plane will fly to Tampa and back with no trouble at all," said Joe Walker as he circled his motorboat under the plane. After a 4-minute flight, Hoffman cut back on the throttle, and the hull settled on the water. Moments after landing, the chain-driven 8-foot propeller mounted at the rear of the plane stopped. The chain had broken, but that caused no concern, because the plane Janis flew also had problems with the chain. The New Year's Day flight by Janis in 1914 was the first scheduled airline flight with a passenger and started him on a career of ferrying paying passengers across the bay. Hoffman's reenactment of the flight is the second time an attempt has been made. Another replica was built with hopes of flying the route on January 1964, on the 50th anniversary of the flight. But the pilot could not get the craft airborne. It later was flown successfully on very short flights later in the year, but never over Janis's old route. In this next segment of my film, I'm going to be flying a computer-generated version of the Benoist biplane, exactly like the one Tony Janis flew from St. Pete to Tampa in 1914. I'll be flying in Microsoft's Flight Simulator 2004. My name's Bill Akins. I'm the director of the Florida Aviation Historical Society's Aircraft Recovery Team, and I hope that you've enjoyed my film.
Fly, dear.
Where, kid?
To the sky, dear.
Oh, you flying machine.
Jump in, Miss Josephine.
Yippee, oh, joy, what a feeling. Well, boys,
fly to the sky so high. Come Josephine in my flying machine, going up, she goes, up, she goes. Balance yourself like a bird on a beam in the air, she goes, there she goes, up, up, a little bit higher. Oh my, the moon is on fire. Come Josephine in my flying machine, going up, all on goodbye. Come Josephine in my flying machine, going up, she goes, up, she goes. Balance yourself like a bird on a beam in the air, she goes, there she goes, up, up, a little bit higher. Oh my, the moon is on fire. Come Josephine in my flying machine, going up, all on goodbye. One, two, now we're off, dear.
Hey, you.
Pretty soft, dear.
Oh, dear, don't hit the moon.
No, dear, not yet, but soon.
You for me. Oh, gee, you're a flying kid.
Not me. I'm a sky kid, see, I'm up in the air above you for fair.
Come Josephine in my flying machine, going up, she goes, up, she goes. Balance yourself like a bird on a beam in the air, she goes, there she goes, up, up, a little bit higher. Oh my, the moon is on fire. Come Josephine in my flying machine, going up, all on goodbye. Going up, she goes, up, she goes. In the air she goes, there she goes. Oh my, the moon is on fire. Come Josephine in my flying machine, going up, all on goodbye.
Come Josephine in my flying machine, going up, she goes, up, she goes. Balance yourself like a bird on a beam in the air, she goes, there she goes. Up, 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 a little bit higher.